Today I'm just going to run you through really quickly how I would go about chopping a break on the Novation circuit to make a jungle track. So the first thing we need to do is grab a new session and set the tempo. I'm working at 164 BPM today, and I've got 4 breaks loaded into the circuit and they're already running at that tempo. I did that on the DAW. I just set a click track and pitch shifted them until they fit to the click. I found that's the best way to preserve the natural groove and flow within the break samples rather than warping them within an inch of their lives. So I'll play you through the breaks that I've got. Each one is chopped out onto 4 pads, so 16 pads altogether. That was good math skills, by the way. There you go, 4 breaks, 4 pads each. I like to play everything in live. I think it leaves the possibility for kind of happy accidents, like Bob Ross. So I'll chuck a click track on drum 3. Just there we go, find a nice clicky sample. And I'm going to duplicate that across 2 bars. At the end of the second bar, I'll give myself an extra note just to signify that that's where I'm at. So I'll play those 2, I'll set up 2 bars on drum 1, shift drum 1 to enter the sample select page, and you can just play stuff in from here. If you hit record, it's really great. Cool, so I've got something in that I kind of like, but you can hear that the last hit just fell slightly off the beat. So I can go into my step sequencer on bar 2. There you go, you can see that there. That's probably not where that's supposed to be. So let's have a listen. There you go. And so you can hear that it should be over on this pad here. So I've just duplicated it across, get rid of that one, and let's have a listen. Cool, there's a little bit of space between a few of those pads, so I'm going to go back into shift drum 1 and I'm just going to try and tap in some little fills. This pad here is probably my guy. There we go, that sounds good. So I can get rid of my click track now. I'm just going to clear both of those bars on drum 3 and 4 because I will use them for something else later. For now though, let's jump onto drum 2 and try and fit another break under that, and hopefully they play together kind of nicely. Great. One thing I notice is when I'm flicking between those 2 pads, some of the breaks they bleed out after I've hit mute because the sample is set to play right the way through to the end of the sample. So if you've got a snare that then rolls out into something else, it's going to bleed and kind of sound a little bit not that great. So what I can do about that is for the end of each section, so let's just go on to the second bar. These are the last 2 hits for each of the break. So I'm going to use the sample length mode to shorten those so that that doesn't continue to happen. So I'm going to go to gate, hit record, tap that guy there, and then I can bring him just shorten him right off. And then you need to remember to undo that on the next pad. So you can hold clear and just turn that pot and that's going to reset it. There we go. So this one, you can watch the light. This one's going to be shorter and then this one's going to go back to full length. Now if I do that on the other one as well for drum 2. I'm using the wrong pot. There we go. That's done. Now, that's a little bit of a fiddly process. I don't mind doing it, but I preempted that. Let's just have a listen first, and then I'll show you another workaround for it. So it kind of doesn't sound that great. So what you can do instead is go in and change the samples using sample flip, and when I've chopped out those breaks, I've made sure to have a snare all by itself with no rollout after it, so I can just flip over to that sample. So record, tap the sample that you want, and then I can go shift drum 1 and I can change it to one of the other samples. So I think this one here, there you go, that's my snare that's already by itself, okay? So I can bring the sample length right back up, do the same for drum 2, bring that sample length back up, I can go shift drum 2, there you go, there's my snare by itself. So let's have a listen now. Cool, I much prefer that. I'm going to duplicate the first bar onto the third and the second onto the fourth. Now I'm going to zoom in on that fourth bar and just change it around a bit. I think it'll sound great with a little rollout section, something a little bit different. There we go, so I just duplicated this pad over to that one to save having to go through and use sample flip to pick the sample that I wanted. Let's have a listen all together. Now there's something in here that I don't quite like, so I'm just going to edit it out. I think that sounds cleaner, sometimes less is more. If I can duplicate that change from 1 onto 3 now. Cool, fine. Let's jump onto drum 3 and try and do some percussive kind of backing track. It's handy to have that if you mute your 2 breaks and you still just want like a hi-hat or some sort of clicky thing just rolling out. Cool, I'm going to put a little bit of delay on that, so I've just gone to effects, I've chosen a delay, usually the ones around here are pretty good. Drum 3, so I'm just going to bring that up a little bit. I'll mute the other 2 and just have a listen to that delay. Fine. Drum 4, I'll grab like a pad or an effect or whatever. Alright, let's go for that. go back to note, and because I don't really plan on changing that sample, I can just put it into the step sequence or wherever I want. So if I'm on the first bar, let's put it here, and just have a listen to how that sounds across the two bars. It's close. Let's try it here. Yeah, that's cool. Again, I'll pop a little bit of delay on it. Bit of reverb. Then I'll just bring it right down in the mix. Might be worth putting just a tiny little bit of reverb on the rest of my drums as well, just to kind of glue them together a little bit. There's no compressor in here. There's not much in the way of dynamic control, so a little bit of reverb can go a long way. There you go, a little bit of reverb and just a bit of EQ and saturation on both of those, and they're sounding kind of nice. So what's going to be fun now is to get that same pattern across onto these 4 pads here. So I'm just going to, again, duplicate 1, 2, 3. I'm going to leave 4 by itself because I'm going to throw that funky Amen from Arsonist onto that as a turnaround. Let's have a listen to all of those 4. Something like that is kind of what I'm going for. So let's just zoom in on that 8th bar. I can see that nothing's playing. Now, because I've got different processing on drum 1 and drum 2, it's worth actually having a listen to that break on both of those and deciding which one I want to go for. You can change the processing via step automation, but it's easier if it just sounds nice from the get-go. So you can see that that's quite a big difference. So I'm going to go for the first one. It's a little bit brighter. It's a lot brighter. Cool, I'm happy with that. Let's have a listen to everything all together. Do you know what? That's way too bright on that last one, so I am going to use step automation to change that. So I'm going to, again, zoom in on my 8th bar, go to gate mode, and just the same thing we did before, hit record and grab the first one there, and just bring the EQ level right down on it. And so I want that to affect right the way through to here. So I'm actually going to go onto the first bar and the first hit of that first bar, and I'm going to change that back to where it was. About there. So just from this bar here Oops, play from the start. Great, so I'm going to put a different sound just to go with that as well, like a cheesy vocal or whatever. Perfect. I can move that to a little bit later in the bar. Perfect. Then I can duplicate the rest of these guys all the way down. So the first one is going to come down to 1, 3, 5, and 7. The second is going to go into 2, 4, and 6. My maths is on point today, tell you what. That's all fine for now. Then the one last thing that I'm going to do is try and pop a bass line on it. So the synth patches that I've got loaded up, the first page is from Cosmogonic. You can go and grab that from the Isotonic website, it's about 20 quid. The second page is the Tom Cosm one, which probably goes for about the same amount. There's heaps and heaps of really, really good patches on there, but the one I'm going to focus on today is from the Tom Cosm pack. It's the first one, it's his kick designer. It just already, off the bat, just substitutes for an 808 kind of rolling bass line. So I'm going to try and chuck that underneath and see what happens. Right, so I'm going to go to scales and I'm actually going to change my key into F. The reason for that is that this F here, or is it that one? There we go. That F there should fit around that kind of 40 to 50 hertz range, and it just sounds great on a sound system. So you find a lot of drum and ghoul, drum and bass, that kind of genre sits around that F kind of key, and that's why it's just this fundamental here just honks on a system. So that's not the note that I really wanted to go for. I wanted a semitone or a tone under it. So you can just hold that and just change the note really easily. Same thing again, I'm just going to change that to that note there, tie those two together. Try that on this one actually. Now, because I changed that, I've only just noticed now that vocal's just been playing the whole way through. It's probably really annoying. Because I changed the last note to that vocal, I need to then go in and tell it to go back to the sample that we had in the first place at the start of the bar. I can't even remember what that sample was now. So it's this guy here. So if I go into gate again, drum 4, record, tap him, I can go back into my sample select mode and find the sample that we had before. Was it that? I think it was that. Cool, so then again, duplicate that all the way down and then just make sure that this one here is still playing the vocal, which is probably not anymore. Nope. Record, tap him. And there we go. I muted the bass line on the 8th one as well, so I might just duplicate it down and just get rid of that one there. Let's see how this sounds. go. Realistically, I'd probably change that vocal sample. I'd write a pad line for an intro so that when the breaks were muted, you'd have some sort of melody there leading into the drop, but then I would get rid of that melody straight away and bring those breaks in. But that's it. You can see that because of sample flip, the circuit is absolutely amazing for making jungle and for chopping breaks on. I bought it before sample flip was a thing, and I was kind of disappointed that that's not something that was able to do. And then within a couple of months, Novation brought out the update that allowed you to do that. So it's a really, really powerful little box for doing those jungle kind of breaks now. And yeah, if you've got any questions, hit me up below. I'll link the sample pack that I'm using below as well. A really good place to find the breaks that I'm using is Jungle Jungle, which is a Blue Marten sample pack. They just tore a bunch of sounds for jungle music off Jungle Records, and there are a couple of other places you can look as well. So I'll link all those below. Bloody like and subscribe, or don't. I really, I just hope you had fun.